Sophie was a quiet girl who lived in an old house on the edge of a small town. The house was big, with creaky floors and tall windows that let in little light. One night, as Sophie was lying in bed, she heard something strange. The shadows in her room began to move, and she could hear them whispering. The whispers were soft, like the wind, but she couldn't understand what they were saying. Scared, she pulled the blanket over her head, hoping the whispers would go away. The next day, Sophie tried to forget about the whispers, but they stayed in her mind. While exploring the house, she found a small drawer in her room she had never noticed before. It was hidden in the corner, dusty and old. Curiosity got the best of her, and she opened it. Inside, she found a worn-out journal with yellowed pages. The cover had a name written in faded ink, Amelia. Sophie wondered who Amelia was and what secrets the journal held. Sophie began to read the journal. It was filled with stories of a girl named Amelia who once lived in the house many years ago. Amelia wrote about hearing whispers in the shadows, just like Sophie. She described how the whispers would grow louder each night, revealing secrets about the house and the people who had lived there. Sophie felt a chill run down her spine as she realized Amelia might have heard the same whispers she was now hearing. That night, the whispers returned, louder this time. Sophie could make out some words: the garden, the well, the key. The next day, she decided to explore the garden. At the back, hidden by overgrown bushes, she found an old well. It was covered with a heavy stone lid. Sophie pushed the lid aside and peered inside. At the bottom, she saw something shiny. With a bit of rope, she managed to fish it out. It was a rusty old key. What could it unlock? Sophie took the key back to the house and tried it on every door. It didn't fit any of them. Frustrated, she sat on the floor, thinking. Then she remembered an old door in the attic that had always been locked. She hurried upstairs and tried the key. It fit perfectly. The door creaked open, revealing a dusty room filled with old furniture and boxes. But what caught Sophie's eye was a large mirror at the back, covered with a dark cloth. Sophie hesitated before pulling the cloth off the mirror. When she did, she was shocked. The mirror showed her reflection, but the room behind her looked different, older. And there, standing in the reflection, was a girl who looked just like her but was dressed in old-fashioned clothes. Sophie's heart raced. Could this be Amelia? The girl in the mirror mouthed words Sophie couldn't hear, but the whispers filled the room again, growing louder. The whispers guided Sophie closer to the mirror. She touched its surface, and the reflection changed. The room in the mirror became a grand version of her own, filled with light and laughter. Sophie saw people dancing, but they seemed unaware of her presence. Then, she saw Amelia again, looking sad and alone. The whispers turned into a single voice: "Find the truth, before it's too late." Sophie couldn't shake the images she saw in the mirror. She read more of Amelia's journal and discovered that there was a grand party in the house many years ago, but something terrible happened that night. Amelia wrote that the guests were never seen again. Sophie realized that the mirror was showing her the night of the party. She needed to find out what happened, but how? As Sophie searched the attic, she found an old invitation hidden in one of the boxes. It was for the party Amelia had mentioned, dated over 100 years ago. The invitation had a strange symbol on it, the same one she had seen in the reflection. Sophie wondered if the symbol was a clue. She decided to draw it and keep it with her, hoping it might unlock more secrets. That night, Sophie waited until midnight, the time she believed the party had taken place. She stood in front of the mirror, holding the drawn symbol. The room in the reflection began to change again, and she saw the party in full swing. This time, the whispers were clearer. They told her to look under the grand staircase. Sophie didn't hesitate. She rushed downstairs to the staircase in her house and found a loose floorboard. Under the floorboard, Sophie discovered a small door. It was just big enough for her to crawl through. With the key in hand, she unlocked it and found herself in a narrow tunnel. The whispers echoed around her as she crawled through the darkness. At the end of the tunnel, she found another door. This one was heavy and old, and when she opened it, she stepped into a forgotten part of the house. The room was dusty and filled with old furniture, but there was something strange about it. It looked exactly like the room in the reflection, but frozen in time. Sophie felt as if she had stepped into the past. On a table, she saw an old photograph of the party, and there, standing at the edge of the group, was Amelia. But the people around her looked different. Their eyes were dark, and their faces were emotionless. Sophie realized with a start that the people in the photograph were the same ones she had seen in the mirror. The whispers grew louder, almost desperate, as if trying to warn her. The guests had become trapped in the house, their souls unable to move on. Sophie had to find a way to free them, but she didn't know how. She needed to understand what had cursed the house and its inhabitants. Back in her room, Sophie read the final entry in Amelia's journal. Amelia had written about her fears that the house was alive, feeding on the energy of the people who lived there. She believed that the mirror was the key, a gateway to another realm. But before Amelia could destroy it, she disappeared. Sophie knew she had to finish what Amelia started. She had to destroy the mirror, but she didn't know if she had the strength to do it. Sophie returned to the attic, determined to face whatever was in the mirror. As she stood before it, the reflection changed again, showing her the lost souls trapped inside. Amelia appeared, pleading with her to break the mirror. Sophie hesitated, but then the whispers became a scream, filling the room with a terrible noise. With all her might, Sophie threw a heavy object at the mirror, shattering it into pieces. The room went silent, and the reflection faded away. As the dust settled, Sophie felt a sense of peace. The whispers were gone, and she knew the souls were finally free. Amelia's journal lay closed in her hands, its last secrets uncovered. Sophie looked around the attic. Now,